Deb, I'm glad you got the chance to sit down with me and come on this podcast. I wanted to say that you and I had a great conversation, like we just discussed like months ago. And it was funny how a lot of things that you experienced in your past, I can kind of relate to some of them now. And who knows if in the future I will or not, but we'll see where that goes. So I'm glad that you're on here and able to share your journey in life with the listeners and people watching this on YouTube. So Deb, let's just start off with, you just sharing who you are and, what you're doing now, what you're most passionate about.
Well, I am Deb Smart. And it's funny that I did have another name, Deb Carper, and I recorded a podcast opening and I introduced myself as Deb Carper. And I said, start that. I have had a wonderful life, wonderful run. I've been around for quite some time as an entrepreneur. It's been 40 years now since I left corporate and struck out on my own. And I'm a computer nerd. So I I started out working with it was in the 80s that a lot of layoffs were going on. And so I worked with a lot of managers who were laid off and they didn't know what to do. So they became their companies were hiring back in as consultants. So I actually worked in their homes to build their database, their payroll system on a PC. I was one of the first IBM PC programmers. I'm a hidden figure.
That's
So my passion is really helping people, getting their business off the ground. I still program. I design web pages. A podcaster. I've been writing since I was 14 or 15 years old. I've been telling stories since I could open my mouth and talk. So I'm not afraid to talk. I sent off my first article. I think I was 18 to Redbook magazine, and it didn't get accepted. But at least I had enough courage to send it off. And that's one thing that you'll learn about me. I'm not afraid to go after the things that I'm passionate about. And it's really helping people identify what they're passionate about and helping them work through the process of getting it done.
awesome. You got a lot of stuff going on. I let's start off with, how you left the corporate world. What was that like? What kind of feelings did you have?
You know what? I think back on it, I have no idea where I got the courage to do that. I mean, I had a really good, I was a junior project leader in data processing. I had a really good position. And they were giving everybody massive layoffs. And because I had been there over 10 years, I got a 26-week severance package.
Wow.
How could I pass that up, right? I don't know what I was thinking, but I saw the possibility of starting a business using my skills because the last year of my business there, my last year of my employment there, I was doing consulting work with our agents. I work for Mutual Life Insurance. And as I said, I was one of the first IBM programmers. And I just helped design their system on a mid-range computer where their agents could work from home and send in the policy information. So I helped design that. And I really love traveling back and forth between the locations. So I got over the fear of traveling as a consultant. I knew I had the skills. So why not? 26 weeks. Hey, I can find another job after that. So it was really the security of having that type of income that I said yes. And I struck out. My company was Direct Connections Incorporated. At that time, my last name was Carper. So the connections was spelled with a K. So my brand was DK.
That's cool. So you just moved out of that position and just created your own business.
Yeah.
And you've been doing it for 40 years now that you've been on your own and you shifted a lot along the way. What is the most rewarding part of being on your own now?
Well, the most rewarding part at this season in my life is being able to work from home and not having to travel out. And thank God for the internet and Zoom. Because if I didn't have, because I work with people all over the world and I can do it from the comfort of my home and I can make my own hours and I don't have to dress from the bottom down. I can be in my pajamas.
You don't have to get out of bed if you didn't want to. Just,
No, I got to get out of bed. Got to get out of bed.
oh man. Yeah, and a lot has changed, right? You know, and now, like you mentioned, Zoom and everything. We all went through the COVID, and you know, everybody's staying home, and that opened up a lot of doors where people are communicating, just like you and I are now. And I mean, what a wonderful place we could be at right now. And I'm sure you've seen a lot through your life, everything transitioning along the way. Uh, yeah, what would you say was the best tool or, you know, idea or whatever might have came across you that that kind of changed your life?
Learning how to program Visual Fox Pro.
A what? Visual?
Visual Fox Pro. That was the tool that I used when I left corporate. It was for the personal computer at that time. And that was a tool that really opened, because I already had the personality and the confidence to talk to new clients to find out what their needs were. But I actually ran out of money at week 26 after the severance package. My husband, who was a nuclear power plant engineer, I mean, we had six figures, right? He got laid off 3 weeks after my severance ran out. No severance. We had no income.
Wow.
So my saving grace was Visual Fox Pro. And another package at that time, a consultant who I worked with during my period of building my business. No, when I was in corporate, he called me. He says, Deb, I understand you know X, Y, and Z. I said, yeah, I work with. He says, well, how about, do you mind adding your background credentials to our portfolio as we go to our new client? And I said, sure. And this is how God works. I got a 2-year project working for a Fidelity Bank in Philadelphia. So that established me as a bona fide consultant working with a bona fide bank and not in somebody's home.
Isn't it funny how things work out like that? You think everything's gonna, well, everything kind of collapses all at once, but then something reversing and gives you life and joy.
And really that has been my track record, because I have a strong faith and I pray instead of falling apart. I really rely on prayer, and I even more so, over these years, because as you know, being an entrepreneur, there is no guarantee that there's going to be income coming in unless you have a part-time job feeding your passion of being an entrepreneur. But I was blessed to have this skill with the programming, and that is my niche. I'm a nerd. I love learning different things.
Yeah. And you talk about entrepreneurship, no security. There's no security in having a job either. You know, you lost yours. I lost mine after 20 years. So it was like, you know, you might as well just live and do the things that you love and makes you feel you.
Well, the difference is I didn't lose my job. I chose to leave my job.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was the difference, because I was one of the very special safe people, because I was in data processing. You know, if I was in a clerical position, that would be very well. Actually, I was in a non-programming position. I was a junior project leader, which meant that I went to the different departments to interview the managers to find out what type of systems they needed. That position they took away, but it was my choice if I chose to go back into the data processing pool. But I chose to start my own business. Hey, 26 weeks pay. Right. And I have to admit, the reason why I took this, I am unable, and I was unable to have children, and I knew I would never have, maternity leave. So that's the reason why I did it.
That's one way to look at it, I guess, huh?
There's a method to my madness.
Yeah. Who knew? But yeah, so you took the leap of faith and you had your consulting visit. You still do that now, or?
Oh yeah, and it's thriving. I took my husband and I were really struggling, and I took a position as a temp. And all I did was, because I worked in corporate for 16 years, I had been working with other companies. All I did was criticize how the business was run, and I hated it. So I went back. I didn't go back after one day. And I didn't even go back and get my check for one day.
Oh, really?
I, this is not for me. I cannot work for somebody else.
Hmm. So yeah, after you explaining all the things you're doing now, obviously you're enjoying doing it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you help people find passion, right?
Oh yeah. This weekend as of today, I've launched two different books as Amazon best-selling position. And
Awesome.
that is such a thrill to get back to my clients and say, hey, guess what? You can now say you're an Amazon bestseller.
Yeah, that's great. That's good news. Yeah, thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So how do you help somebody find their passion?
Basically, listen. That's what I learned from a very early age. I was raised in the 50s where you listen to your elders. You didn't talk back as much. I did, but that's just me. But anyway, you listen. I was raised in Germantown in Philadelphia, and we had porches, and majority of the people on my row, they were older, and I didn't have much to do. There weren't any little girls for me to play with, so I would go from porch to porch and listen to my older neighbors talk and tell their stories. They were from the South, and I would hear their stories and things like that. So I learned to listen from a very early age, and that's also how I learned how to develop as a storyteller.
Hmm, that's cool. Yeah. So okay, let's go jump into storytelling then, right? So what is that? Are you sharing your story, or you have other people coming on and they're sharing their story in a book, or?
Yeah, mostly when I do my podcast, I focus on the individual story and I take myself in the background. And I like not being with the conversation type podcast because I like to listen and then I can come on and ask a deeper question because that's just my style. And I have been very successful getting the stories out, people's stories out, where people say, "Oh, I really like that person." And then I also design a web page, a landing page for them, so they can link to whatever website site that they have, just to increase their community. So I like sharing.
Sharing. Yeah. That's why you're on here now. You're sharing everything that you've been.
Sharing, Carrie, and I can tell you stories. I just moved from I've lived such a wonderful, rich life, not positive. I mean, a lot of ups and downs, but I can move from one scenario to the next, without ease. And I also write that way. Um, so actually, I'm writing a book called Joy Comes Through Life's Interruptions. My first book was Joy Comes Through the Morning, Mourning, and that was about the death of my husband, Donald. And my experience as a widow for 4 years. And married my husband, Willie. So he was my joy that came through the morning. Unfortunately, Willie died 2 years ago. So now I'm writing the story, Joy Comes Through Life's Interruptions. So that'll be available prayerfully in 2025. And that's going to be published by Trilogy Publishing Company.
Hmm. So you're writing books of your own journey through life. So, and obviously you're helping other people do the same thing. What what do you say about what would you say about people sharing their stories, their journeys? You know, why? Why should somebody be sharing that?
First of all, I am a certified Bible counselor with my church, my former church. So I've been trained to counsel people. And most of the people who come to me, they are writing about their experience. So I know how to not hit them with the hammer of getting the details. I want to hear your story. How do you feel? And if they want to refeel those feelings and it's going to be healthy for them, then we talk. I have something called the manuscript clinic. And what would they do? An hour a week, they come on and they tell their story. And I record it and then I transcribe it and I send it back to them. And out of the clinic, they come out with their first draft of the manuscript. And that has been really successful because it gives them permission to open up and be vulnerable. And also listen to the story that they're telling that may tap into, oh, well, this is why I act this way. Oh, this is what happened. I forgot about that. So I guess I do counseling also.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I remember you sharing that with me when we were talking on the phone a while ago, and it really intrigued me. Um, It's almost like writing your own journal, right? But you're just like sharing it with you or whoever else, or even just yourself. And now AI and all this stuff can just like, yeah, here's what you
That's
said.
exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I believe in journaling. I've been journaling. Oh my gosh. I think my first diary starts in 1970. I thought it was 69, but 69 was probably on paper, and 70, I had the official diary.
Gotcha.
And I can go back. I still have all my books. I can go back to most any year and look on the day to see what was happening in my life, because I did it every day. I wrote every day.
Wow. So what would you say? You wrote like a page or two?
More or less, depending on what was coming out of my brain at that time.
Uh, how's it when I was in, how's it feel when you go back and you read things?
Oh, it's wonderful. I actually have written a couple of books. I've written 5 books, actually, my own. And a lot of my fictional. My first book was Joy Comes in the Morning, but then I wrote 2 fictional books, one called Pearl, the Little Light That Shine, based on my life. And I was able to go back and read my journals and glean the experiences into my character, Pearl.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay.
Well, I teach people how to do that also. Yeah.
Do you? What else do you do?
I just enjoy life, Don. I just totally enjoy life.
You have to. So, I mean, like, yeah, and you share how you were in several marriages and, and ups and downs just in that alone. I don't know everything else that you experienced along the way, but what would you say was like the biggest struggle you had in your life?
The biggest struggle I had was my relationship with my mother.
Okay.
And because of my relationship with my mother, at the age of 20, I got married. And I've been married 4 times, people. I'll get that out the way. My first husband and we were very good friends. We became very good friends. And we met at the Recca Pum Pum. Yes, I was a disco dolly in the 70s. But we met, and just to show you who I am and what I've always been this way, I took a bus to North Philadelphia to a bar I had never been called the Recca Pum Pum. And this is how my stories begin. And I was there to celebrate a friend's birthday, or 21st birthday. And I don't think I was 20. I don't know how I got in. 21. I don't know how I get on. Anyway, so we're all sitting around a table and everybody's leaving. The club is closing down. And I realized, how the heck am I going to get home? But because I didn't know that the buses stopped running at a certain time, I thought I could go out and catch the bus home. So there was this guy sitting there, and he was quiet the whole night. I think we may have danced once. And I said, excuse me, I don't know how I'm getting home. Could you take me home? And he was such a gentleman. This was my first husband, Cliff. He took me home, and as we got out the car, he told me that he lived around the corner from the Wreck of Plum Falls. This man left North Philadelphia, drove me all the way to Germantown. I mean, he respected me, no problems whatsoever. And we became friends. And we weren't in a romantic relationship. We were very, very good friends. And it turned out that he was ready to leave home because his mom was a wonderful mother, but he was at an age he wanted to leave home. So we made a pact and we got married. That's how I got to my first. And it was a very good relationship. We were both in corporate at the time, and you know, he respected me. I respected him. We did fall in love, but not in that romantic love. We loved each other as individuals. He was actually an evidence technician for the Philadelphia Police Department, and he loved what he did. But the first year, he wanted to be a cop. Evidence technician takes the fingerprints and they take the photos as the people are brought in. And he worked at the Roundhouse in Philadelphia. And after a year of marriage, he says, Deb, he says, I've always wanted to be a cop, and they're opening up, you know, the test. So I said, okay, if that's what you want to do. So he went to the police academy, and the day he graduated, they recruited him into narcotics. So now I'm married to Serpico. I don't know if you remember the story of Serpico. He was a cop who went undercover, and that was my husband. He was a cop who went undercover. Well, at that time, I think we were married maybe a year. Yeah, year. Our marriage lasted 7 years. I just couldn't handle being in my 20s. I was 27, I guess, being married to an undercover cop that I didn't know was going to come home because he would either be the drug dealer or he would be the cop. And his attitude was, well, if anything happened to me, somebody would come and tell you. So how am I supposed to feel warm and fuzzy with that? We didn't have children, so it was very difficult. I was bowling on 5 bowling leagues a week. And then one night, his partner's girlfriend at the time, as they eventually got married, she said, "What did you say?" I said, I bowl on 5 bowling leagues a week. She said, "Sweetie, I'm going to take you under my wing and give you a life." She was 10 years older than I. So she drugged me to St. Joseph's, and that's how I got my degree, my business associate's degree, associate business degree. And, because of her. And, I love going back to school. I didn't realize how much I enjoy learning, and at that time, that's really when I developed this passion for learning, and not being afraid to try and do things.
Wow. Yeah. And again, somebody just showed up in your life and kind of pushed you in this direction that you weren't even thinking of.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I believe the Lord he has people strategically placed certain times in our lives when we're ready. As they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, something like that.
Yeah. Something along those lines. Yeah. That's awesome. Like that. And that's just a part. So, I mean, you mentioned your biggest struggle was your mother because you got married early. Was there a relationship after that or with you and her?
No, my mother's 95 years old, is still kicking. She's still going wonderfully well. Yeah. And I'll say this, I'm 74 years old. My mother and I did not have a good relationship until 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. And that was because of the death of my husband, Willie. She loved my husband, Willie. And that opened her heart for us to have a relationship. That's kind of crazy, but that's actually how it happened.
At least you have something now, right?
Exactly. Exactly. As I said, the Lord strategically places events and people in your life.
Yeah. Now, are you guys close, like proximity wise?
No, she lives in Philadelphia. I'm in Newark, Delaware. And I don't drive too much because of the traffic. I mean, a 40-minute drive to see my mom takes over an hour sometimes, to get there and get back because traffic is just so bad between Delaware and Philadelphia. But we talk on the phone. Ciao.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, thank you for sharing that story. Um,
And as you see how easy it is for me to go into stories. That's what I do. I weave in and out of stories.
yeah, yeah. Who knows how much more we could talk about, right? Oh, this is great. So, if somebody was to reach out to you for everything that you do,
Mhm.
what's the best way to connect with you?
Well, my site is very easy to remember. Is my last name on my first name is Smart Deborah, Smart Deborah.com. I made it very easy for everybody. So that's my landing page. I have so many. I have membership in this community, and our app is called eStage. And behind the door is like a warehouse of landing pages. So all of my landing pages are subsets of this one page, smartdeborah.com. And I say Deborah because I'm special, but it's Deborah.
Yeah, everybody's gonna start pronouncing it different now, and
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, I changed it to Deborah after Willie? No. When Donald passed, I changed it to Deborah because it was we were married for almost 20 years. And it was a very difficult marriage because we were so different. As you see, I had the brown skin and I was raised Baptist and I'm a female. Donald was raised Catholic, Polish background, pale pale face. And he was 13 years older than I, but we were together for 19 years, going on almost 20. Actually, we were together for 23 years because it took him 3 years, 3 years to to really convince me that I should marry him. Um, After he passed, I just thank the Lord that he got us through those years together because it was a really good run. That's when I really grew as an individual. During that time, I also launched my publishing company, Gladstone Publishing. So I had two businesses at that time, and he supported me 100%. And so because I felt so blessed, I changed my name from Deborah to Deborah, because just like in the Bible, Peter's name was changed from Peter's name was changed from Simon to Peter. I wrote a journal in my journal, Lord, I want to change my name to be pronounced Deborah. So then when I married Willie, all he knew me by was Deborah. And then when Willie died, I said, I don't want anybody else to call me Deborah. So I changed it to Deb.
Gosh. So that's kind of like a special name there for you then.
Yeah, because when he said Deborah, oh my God, Willie really loved me. I mean, truly, he loved me. He was everything that I wanted as a husband. It wasn't my plan to have four husbands. I don't talk much about my second husband because that was the most difficult time in my life. He was physically and mentally abusive to me. And we were married. It was wonderful for 18 months, and then it just went south. But he had a mental condition that he developed during that time, and he wasn't in control of what was going on. So I had to leave him for my life. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So again, you went through so much and got to where you are today. Deborah, Deb.
Deborah.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's the same person, right? What are three key things you've learned and used along your journey?
What are the three key things?
Yes.
I'm very special. I'm a very special person. I and therefore it is my duty to let people know that they're special too. And I do that through helping them journal, helping them write, helping them become an author, or in some cases, some people are now publishing, self-publishing. You know, really, that's what I'm supposed to do. I really feel that that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to just take. I'm supposed to give and serve.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's all three in one. You know, to self-care is self-care is number one. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're number one. You're being taken care of. Care for other people, and just enjoy the ride.
Yes. And I could tell that you enjoyed the ride. You had your ups and downs and you came out really great on the other side here. We're talking and, I see you in the CLA every once in a while and, you make comments and whatnot. So you're always showing up. But yeah, I'm glad that was what you had to share, self-love. And yeah, I like hearing what people have to say at the end. And a lot of them eventually, they're all almost kind of sound the same, depending on who we talk to. Faith is another big one that comes up. So, but yeah, finding your true self, feeling love yourself. And it sounds like, is it Willie? Is that, yeah. It sounded like he allowed you to be you and you got your two companies and, he was all supporting you and that support's a big player in your life.
Well, actually, it started with Don. I got the two companies with Don. Yeah. And Willie was a very different man. He was raised with compassion. And I'm not saying Don wasn't, but Don had a different upbringing than Will did. And he allowed me to, because as a Black man coming up, he had his own struggles that he had to go through. And he used to call me MacGyver because I could fix any situation. I would just, okay, let's do it this way. But I was really a curiosity to him. I can't say it any other way.
He likes that, huh? He liked it. Yeah. That's cool. And I could tell you, just smiling and sharing that,
Yeah.
yeah. I almost feel like he's right there when you're talking to
All
him.
the time, all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I a lot of times if I do something in the car, because he stopped driving after a while because he had vision problem, and I would drive or I would go too fast, says, and I would look over, and he also, excuse my expression, he called me fast ass Kate because I didn't take my time to think about something. I went, okay, we'll do it this way, or okay, we'll do blah blah blah. And so even now, and he's been gone for 2 years, if I do something that I know he would have cringed at, I look over at the passenger seat. I say, I know, well, I know.
That that's so cool. And those are good story memories that you have, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, awesome. Deb, I appreciate you coming on and sharing, your journey. Obviously, it's not everything that you were able to share, but I'm glad that you shared what you did with everybody else listening and watching this, and hopefully they get something out of it and they can contact you if needed for anything.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. That's one thing that I have been very blessed is I have no fear of saying, how can I help you? And if I can't help, I know so many people, I know there's one person I can turn you on to.
That's great. And that's what we all need. We need at least that one person. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you could do that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime.